Hey, what's up? I am Clifford Starks, competitive edge specialist. I help you get those high performance habits because championship habits lead to championship results. I'm part of the Jesse T Show, and I can't wait to get started.
The mighty, the powerful Clifford Starks. Welcome back to the Jesse T Show, brother.
Hey, thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Man, I
Appreciate you
love
having
you,
me on.
brother. First and foremost, just want to let people know how powerful of a human being you are, how great of a human being you are. You have so much that you've experienced in a relatively short amount of time on this earth, man. And it's all been catered around high performance, work ethic, busting your ass. And then you've seen some really amazing highs in your sport that you were in for a long time, which was martial arts. And now you're translating all that over to entrepreneurship for yourself, but also other people like us that are entrepreneurs or executives that need that high performance edge that you just spoke about, man. So I just wanted to just dive in a little bit just to kind of give more context to some people who maybe haven't heard your story. Who are you? What have you done? And let's get into like what you're doing today.
Yeah, I always say I'm just a guy, to be completely honest. I'm a guy who had a big dream, and I just followed my dream. And the reason I even had the dream, what really moved me forward was when my grandfather passed away. I was 5 at the time, and it shook me. It really did. And seeing him in the casket let me know, like, this is all gonna end on this side. And I
Wow.
don't know what happens on the other side, but I know what I know here. And knowing that was like, crap, what do I do? What do I do with this? And my parents consoled me in the best way that they could, but they didn't know that was going through a 5-year-old's head. Like they had no idea. Um, but at the time I coached myself through that process, not realizing that's what I was doing. And I said, all right, I get an option. I already know I'm going to die. So am I going to go to a slow death, or am I going to live as much life as I can? And I chose to live as much life as I could.
Wow.
And that's what really it was the catalyst to get me to stretch into the person that I became. And I've done a lot of fun things, and I plan to do a lot more fun things. I've been an MMA fighter, a personal trainer, a coach, a competitive edge specialist to get you to your high performance. And I do want to climb Mount Everest one day.
Let me know.
So yeah, yeah. I want to get there before the 5-year mark of me now. So I'm 40. So before 45, that is the goal.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, just living as much life as possible. There's ups, there's downs, there's lefts, there's rights, there's everything in between. And the one thing that I know I can control and anyone else can control is their attitude. And so I'm really there to support people along the way because systems are going to change. They always do, but the adapters, the ones who know and believe in themselves, will figure out what they need to do sooner than later. And that's what I'm there for. I'm just your support system to guide you to your greatest dream and your greatest life.
Brother, you just dropped 40 years of wisdom in less than like 2 minutes. And so I'm going to unpack some of that. First thing is, seriously, if you do Everest in the next 5 years, let me know. I'll do it with you. No
Awesome.
question. That's an amazing. We definitely want to plan ahead. I'm sure you know that, but like,
Oh yeah.
I don't want to get stuck on the mountain. You know what I mean? But like, we could have a team and a crew and all this stuff. We'll get into it, man. But I'm down. Let me know what the deal is.
Yes.
Um, and why, really quick before we jump from there, why Everest? Like, what calls to you? Is it just because it's like the one of the biggest, baddest mountains in the world, and people, it's such a high pinnacle, high performance thing? Like, what calls to your soul about Everest?
You just answered it. Like I like trying to do really, really hard things. Because one of my power of six, it talks about clarity, confidence, and commitment. And confidence. I really love the word confidence. And I didn't even realize it. This is something I realized on my coaching journey. This wasn't even when I was a personal trainer. As a personal trainer, I really became natural at a lot of things, but I was reading consistently. Like I read on personal development consistently. And I didn't realize, like, I just instill confidence in people. Like, that's what I do. Just them being around me, just because I believe in people so much. And I believe in people so much because I believe in myself.
Yeah.
And believing in yourself is like going out to do hard shit. Like, if you go do hard things, you're like,
Yeah.
well, what can stop me? Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
dude.
even the transition from being a fighter to being an entrepreneur, you have to know how to public speak.
Yep.
Like, you just have to know how to get on that stage. And I'm getting on the stage the first time, and I bombed just like everybody else does the
Sure.
first time because it's something new. But I wasn't like that nervous. Like, I didn't feel, I felt the nervousness, but it was like, well, they can't punch me in the face and they can't
Yeah.
kick me,
Yeah.
so I think I'm good to go.
Right. There's levels. Yeah.
Yeah, there's levels to this game. And so I always want to push the pinnacle. I'm always looking to push that edge
Yep.
just to know so I can keep my edge. So I can
That's
always
awesome.
keep the edge. And I'm like, Mount Everest would be the next perfect format to see, like, well, I've already stepped inside of a cage, so let's see what I can do hiking this dangerous mountain.
I love people like you, and I think this is part of our soul connectedness because we're both into this kind of stuff, this kind of pushing the edge and human performance, and really it starts with like yourself and pushing yourself because we don't really have any limits. There's we're gonna find out as we go along and different things that we're experiencing on this earthly plane that you know most of our limits are self-imposed and most of it is negative self-talk or it's also limiting beliefs and there's all this stuff and people saying you can't do this and all that and it's like there's all these stories and all these adages out there like you talk about this one and I'm going to butcher it but basically there was like an eagle that grew up with a bunch of chickens who couldn't fly
Mhm.
and the eagle kept up looking up to the sky and seeing all these eagles flying and he looked at his chicken buddies and he's like man I just have this feeling and this knowing that I want to go fly. And they're like, well, you can't because you're a chicken, bro. Chickens don't fly. And then eventually I think somehow the eagle decided to fly and he realized he was an eagle. He realized that
Yeah,
he was never the chicken. He has
yeah,
nothing against chickens, but he just chickens don't fly, right? So it's like the eagle got up to the sky and he realized that he did have the power all along, right? And so I think
yes,
that's the same thing for humans. We're a lot of times pigeonholed, right? Like kind of using the bird illustration here, but we're pigeonholed and we don't realize how powerful we are. We're powerful beyond measure. We have all of us have a sprinkle of the divine in us, right? It doesn't make us gods, but it makes us powerful. And we're all
yeah.
creators and we're all able to really manifest anything we put our minds to. And really it's just our mind that needs to have that switch. And I know that you know this, right? Because I always talk about you and how you fought the baddest man on the planet, which makes you one of the baddest men on the planet, right? Like you fought
Mhm.
Yoel Romero. This guy, even at 42, 43 years old, however old he is, he's still a scary dude, which
Yeah,
by definition, if you went up against this dude, you're a scary dude too. And so
yeah,
there's a mentality which you're so sweet and kind, but like you're a killer. You're like it's like the whole thing about being the toughest guy in the room. You never have to let anyone know it, but when push comes to shove, when you look around the room, you're like the top 1% of being able to protect yourself and those that you love. And like, so for you, how did you kind of like walk with that power, so to speak? Because you knew that you busted your ass for years in training. You knew that you were a badass mofo, but you're also this very intellectual, powerful, kind of like easygoing dude. How did you balance all that?
so a lot of the psychology and the understanding, they say a lot of things that you unpack are from your first 7 years.
Yep.
We have those traumas from the first 7 years. And one interesting thing that I'm really good at doing is reframe. And I didn't know it at the time, but I've used reframing on my journey for a lot of things. And I remember uh, this was before I was 5. So I was 4, my biological dad. And just so people don't get confused, I have my biological dad and I got my dad,
Gotcha.
two different people. And when I was 4, my biological dad left, drove away.
Yeah.
And I remember him driving away. And the first thing that came to mind was I gotta get strong because people who are supposed to be there can leave.
Wow.
Yeah. And at 6, my mom remarried. And this guy he he's perfect to me.
Wow.
And perfect to me means you do your best. That's all it is. I had a coach who said, perfect practice will get you there. You don't just kind of half-ass your practice. If you give life 100%, you'll get 10,000 back.
Wow.
If you give life 75%, you're going to get 0 back. And so he gave his all to his kids every time. And I was his kid.
Mm.
And in my head, I was like, okay, people can leave who are supposed to stay, but people can also stay who don't have to.
So powerful.
We get a choice. I was like, we always get a choice. And I've used um, his kindness towards me to continually be kind towards others. You know, I'm always going to be kind to people. And it's not to say that I won't call them on their shit, because I think it's kind to do that too.
Yeah, it's
You
love. It's
know,
tough
yeah.
love. Yeah.
Yeah, to let them know, like, I'm not going to allow you to treat me this way. You're stepping past the boundary.
Yes.
I believe in you. I know you can do what's right, because I know anyone can do what's right. I really believe that. And with enough practice and enough perseverance and enough inner flexion, they'll get to where they're looking to go, or they won't. It's their choice.
It's their choice.
I just have to make my choices in the best way that I can, and I get to choose how I'm going to respond and react to people.
Think about how blessed and you know your life path and your soul's journey has been to have had that experience where you faced some extremely dark nights of the soul as a young kid, like from being abandoned by a biological dad to seeing death at 5 years old. These are some huge life initiations. These are
Yeah.
things that shape people's lives, and by the grace of God, whatever you believe in, source, unity consciousness, you have this guy, your dad, that was placed in your life that showed you the beauty of life. So
Mhm.
you went from abandoned and seeing death to seeing consistency, seeing love, to seeing all these different things. And like, think about where life could have went for you if you didn't have that, your dad step into your life.
Yeah.
And I think about it, man. You know, you have this beautiful perspective that you got when you were 5, right? So you realize that people can leave anytime, whether it's of their own choosing or whether they die. Like, you just realize that we have a very finite amount of time in life. And most people don't get this perspective, sometimes hardly ever, until a lot of times, if they get it, it's they're in their elder years.
Hmm.
And I realized this myself because I've had a lot of initiations in my life too, and a lot around death, whether it was my grandfather when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, who was the most important male figure to my life, because my dad was a junkie for 30 years before he cleaned up. And then, you know, my daughter died at 7 days old. My mom died and my dad died all within a couple of years. And like, by the time I was 30, I had that perspective that you had when you were 5, that time is the most important thing, because we're not guaranteed another second, right? So relationships and time, those two things. Anything else outside of those things in my mind are important, but those are the two most important things. And the Stoic philosophy that talks about memento mori, it says you could leave Earth right now. So if you could leave Earth right now, what would you be doing with your time in business, relationships, health and wellness, spirituality, the things that are important while you're on this earthly plane? What would you be doing with those things? And it's incredible you got that perspective when you were 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I don't, I know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. That's called humility.
Yeah. Yeah. And I sit back, I go, do I hear the voice of God? Yes. That's what I hear. You know, is it true? I can't say. I don't know. You know, but I've had guides in my life for sure, and I have a strange level of awareness. You know, being as aware as I was at 5 and 4 actually is
That's
very unique.
yeah.
Um, but I look at everything else, and I look at like a Usain Bolt, you know, the fastest man in the world. And I go, holy crap, like, how much did he train to be
Yes.
that amazing?
Yes.
You know, how much did he train? And so having the gift of awareness, I was like, how much do I need to train to be my best Clifford Starks? Like, to stretch as much as I can, and looking and knowing, one, the power's in me, but it's also in everybody else. Like, everybody has the power, and they might not necessarily have the awareness to know that they have it and to feel it, but they don't need that. They just need to feel that empowerment. They need to feel their capabilities by
Yes.
going out and going after their dream.
It's impressive how you, even just going back to thinking about Usain Bolt, and I saw a picture the other day of him saying that he worked for 20 years to be able to run for, I think it was a matter of a few minutes, whatever the total time was,
Yeah.
and the interplay with that was um, efficiency versus investment. So he worked so hard for 20 years, which was an investment in himself, like you talked about how hard he trained. That's an investment in himself. But then also the efficiency to only have to run for a few minutes to be able to be arguably the best runner of all time. That's probably not
Mhm.
even arguably. He's just the best runner of all time. And then how much money and if you've seen, he's such an amazing human being outside of that, like how much he's done well for business or celebrity stuff. Like a lot, if you've seen these little clips of him before a race, he's hyping up the people that like work at the race. Like the people, I
Yeah.
don't even know what they're called or what they do, but like it's almost like a ball boy or ball girl at like the baseball field equivalent. It's like someone who's like working in the crowd, like working in the stands, and he's like joking with them, playing with them. He just seems like an amazing human being. But
Yeah.
it's interesting you bring him up because there is something to it. There is something to the hard work, the discipline, the believing in yourself, the falling on your face, 7 times but getting up 8 times kind of thing, and just that moving forward. And so, as you were growing into this, mindset and in this belief in yourself, what were some other key factors along your journey from coaches, mentors, key pivotal moments in your life that helped you get to that edge?
Like, so one thing when I got into entrepreneurship, they talk about mentorship,
Yes.
right? And they're like, I got a mentor, I got a mentor, I got a mentor. And I step back and look at what a mentor means. And I said to myself, I have mentors now just because it's the lingo to have.
Yeah.
Like that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
But everyone's a mentor.
Yes.
Like everyone's teaching you what to do and what not to do
Yeah.
all the time.
More
People
importantly.
just, yeah, yeah. It's just people aren't listening close enough and really following the cues. But we do, like, I'll give a perfect example. You're going to turn into the people that you surround yourself
No
with.
question. No question.
Like every time. I don't care how much willpower you have, you're gonna turn into those people. And so I started looking at it. David Goggins.
Oh, hell yeah, I do.
I noticed David Goggins is usually running alone.
He changed my life, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's running alone.
Yeah, he is.
And he doesn't want to play an average game, obviously,
No.
right? And he plays at such a high level. It's completely out of the society's level. He is the baddest dude on the planet.
He's the only David Goggins I've ever seen. Cam
Yeah.
Haynes is pretty close, but Cam Haynes is a different kind of species, where David Goggins, he's gone on into like special ops and 3 different military, from Air Force to Army to, obviously Navy SEALs. The only guy to ever do that. Like he's in his own league. And actually it was funny. I went on a journey into Mexico a couple of weeks ago, and we did all these beautiful ceremonies from cacao to ecstatic dance to sweat lodge, but we also worked with DMT, which is what Tyson and Rogan and Tony Robbins have worked with to change their lives. And in the DMT session, I was talking to the guy that was helping facilitate it. He's like a shaman. And he goes, he and I had this beautiful conversation after my journey. And I was talking about my life story and how Goggins changed my life. And he's like, me too. He's like, Goggins is a Buddha. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, Jesus was like the feminine Buddha, like very loving. And he's like, Goggins is his own version, just on the other side, the very masculine version of a Buddha. He's like, and I've heard Goggins say this before too. Goggins has said, I don't know why I'm saying what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing, but I know I'm just doing it. And so I feel like he's a beacon of hope that might have been touched from like a higher power to like help heal the world and change the world in his own way. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you brought that up because the intensity that he can go at, the level that he can play at, like the level that he can play at. And my journey's different journey,
Yeah.
right? It's a different journey. And I want to make sure I don't sound out of place saying this, but I like playing within the society norms. Like I like doing that,
Yeah.
but it's not to say that I want to live an average life because
No.
by far that's not what it is. But I want to take everyone's BS excuse away, whether it's the masculine or the feminine.
Yep.
You know, like you can be whatever you choose to be. And the scariest thing is when you say it. Like when you officially say, I want this thing.
Yep.
You can't take it back now.
Now what happens is this: you start when you lie to yourself or you don't fulfill something that you said that you would do, you start distrusting yourself. It's like a whole psychological thing where like you have to keep commitments to yourself first before you could ever keep them to anyone else. And so whether
Yeah.
that's getting up early, eating right, sleeping, whether that's training, whether that's making that phone call for business, following up with that, whatever it is, you really have to start. And this is part of Goggins, like callousing the mind. This is what strengthens the mind, right? This is one tool that you can use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so going to that, like I do follow Goggins because I love what he's about. I love
So
what he
fucking
stands
cool.
for. It was interesting. Do you know Jordan Peterson?
Of course I. Oh fuck yeah.
So I was talking with one of my friends, and he's judging Goggins, right?
Yeah.
Just say like, oh, he's extremist. It's wrong. I'm like, David Goggins is Jordan Peterson.
Yep.
And most people would be like, they don't get what I mean by
Yeah.
that, even a little bit.
I totally
I'm like,
understand.
they're the same person. Like David Goggins is the kinesthetic one.
Yes.
Whereas Jordan Peterson, the way he flows with his language, the way he speaks,
Yes.
the eloquence, the detail.
The truth and the harsh
Yeah.
truth. Jordan Peterson doesn't pull any punches at all.
Even a little bit.
That's how he's like Goggins. Goggins is like, stay hard, motherfucker, boat crew too. And Jordan Peterson just says it just a little bit differently.
Yeah. Like I look at it and go, because it makes me look at them and then I look at my game.
Yeah.
Right. And I look at David and David's just, he's going to punch you in the mouth.
Yep. Leave you
right?
with no excuses. Leaves himself with no excuses. And he's like,
yes.
I'm still that fat guy inside. He's like, he's like, that guy has never gone away. He's just waiting around the corner. He's like, he's always there. That 330-pound dude, however big he was, he's like one donut away, like whatever it is. He knows that in his mind, he has to be in perpetual motion to fight off his old demons.
And that triggers something in me. You know, Jordan Peterson does that too.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, I tried to eradicate my ego. I didn't want it.
Yeah.
I wanted to destroy it. And I realized, like, after years and years of trying, you can't. And then I realized, oh, you're not supposed to anyway.
Nope. It's part of our psyche. We actually can't live without it. It's just a matter of coming from a loving, beautiful place with it, and not coming from like an ego. It's funny to use that word, like an egotistical place with everything that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I looked at my ego, its wants, its desires. It's not, it has desire.
Yep.
It has want. And I thought, if I destroy this thing, I could be one of the purest human beings on the planet and do only right.
Enlightenment, right? Yeah.
And the truth is, the only way you can do right is by having it.
Yes.
Because it's easy to do right just to do right, if you are right. But it's harder when you have these darker sides.
Yes.
And you can still maintain and do the right thing anyway.
What people need to focus on is, number one, we all have and the ego can be used for so many beautiful things, like healthy competition, healthy assertiveness, healthy confidence, right? Not cockiness, but confidence. And what people have ego, because it's like misunderstood. Again, it's part of the psyche. We need it to even survive, but it needs to be healthy, and that's the difference. Like, it needs to be mental health, like having good mental health, having like a good mentally healthy ego. Yes. And one of the big secrets behind having a healthy ego is something that's called shadow work, which Carl Jung is very famous for. Carl Jung is an amazing thought leader. He's since passed, a long time ago, but he was basically, one of the biggest proponents of psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about shadow work, which is this repressed part of our psyche that holds on to traumas, that holds on to, certain things that can not always bad, but a lot of times do lend to negative actions that play out. Or when we're triggered by something, it's because something that happened and that we've repressed and we haven't dealt with, mostly emotionally, or all the stuff that we hold internally. And a lot of times it's expressed through the ego. Like, let's say you grew up with a scarcity mindset, but now you're successful monetarily,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody says that you can't have something or you can't do something, and you go out and knee-jerk reaction, go buy that brand new Mercedes because they said you couldn't do it. That's your ego operating from a place of pain. That's not a beautiful thing, right? Like, and so, like, if
Yeah,
people can kind of reframe and learn about these things, it would help a lot of people.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And talking of the shadow work, and Jordan Peterson follows Young deeply.
Oh
It's
yeah.
really awesome to listen to. Being able, you said you can beat up 99% of the world
Yeah.
and you're kind,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so being able to keep balance, to remind the world like every one of us is great, to remind everybody that they have a badass in them,
Yes.
and to never take anything from anyone, but to also give to myself too. Keep proper boundaries, right? Because that's all it is. I don't fight just to fight. It's not the game that I want to play. And even as a professional fighter, what I loved about professional fighter is you're signing a contract. You both have an agreement. It's not like, I'm gonna beat you. Like, no, there's an agreement there. And I never want to have to fight outside of fighting.
Right.
But
And
I
you don't have
always,
to.
yeah,
Yeah.
I always want to be able to protect myself.
Right.
And it said the best warrior is the one who can use the sword but doesn't have to use it.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
the game I want to play.
That's really interesting. Like, you got guys like, and you probably, I don't know if you've met him or actually fought him, but guys like Tim Kennedy talks, and he's like real life Captain America. This guy is amazing. He's crazy. But he talks about being hard to kill. And
Yeah.
he's like, and it's funny because I had done martial arts for years, not nearly at the level that you did, but I've done it. And you might, you're the top 1% or more in terms of being able to handle yourself. I feel like I might be like the top 5-10% in the world. Like, so like,
Yeah.
it's I walk into a room and I know that I'm very confident. Like, and here's the thing, ever since I learned martial, so I grew up in Boston, right? I'm wearing like the Boston swag today. So I grew up in Boston, and we would always get into fights. Like, I got bullied for years. I had people that would jump me. I had people that, it was just a really rough town.
Mhm.
Especially where I grew up in Eastie, very rough town. And that was part of my initiation in terms of learning, tough, and all this different stuff I worked through. But I never knew how to fight in Boston. It was years later when I left and went through the military, and then ended up going to Georgia, and I picked up martial arts in Georgia, that I really learned how to defend myself. I learned the training that goes along with it. I learned the mentality of it, and the honor and the discipline and the work ethic, and everything goes into it, man.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, once I learned how to truly fight and take care of myself, and I wonder if you can express this too. I never got into another fight again unless it was like in the ring, unless it was sparring, unless it was in the gym. It was working on, hitting pads or whatever, fighting with other people. I never got into another street fight again, because I feel like once you learn how to fight, number one, you know what it's like to be hit. You know what it's like to hit other people. So you have that respect. But number two, you know how to walk away from situations that aren't really honestly worth anyone's time. What's the point of fighting on the street with ego to hit someone in the face one time, they fall and they hit their head on the ground, they die, and now you go to jail? Like, what's the point of that? It's all ego. It's all being tough. None of it matters. Did you feel like some of the same things when you learned how to fight through your martial arts career, that you never had to fight in the street again?
So mine's a little bit of a different
Is
story,
it?
but the connections I think are going to be similar.
Yeah, yeah.
And before I fought, I didn't really get into fights.
Yeah.
And I would always try and talk people away from a fight. Like, the fighting was the last thing that I wanted to do. But holy crap, my confidence level has always been extreme. Like, I have extreme confidence level. So if a person tells me like, "Oh, Cliff, you can't do that," like, best believe that I can't. Like, what's this? And I do it out of excitement and love and joy.
Yeah,
I don't do it out of like, you mother.
yeah.
And so the kind part, always, I've always been super, super kind. And I've had like people cheering me, people booing me, people hating on me, people who cheered me, who started booing me, people who started off booing me, began to cheer me, just everything in between. And I realized like, huh, people are going to be people. So you might as well just get busy being the best you that you can be.
That's right.
And I bring up, I didn't fight because I really believe the confidence in me really, it has a certain energy to it
No question.
where people don't want to mess with it. Like they
Yeah.
don't want to like, I don't want to try this out. And that's like with Muhammad Ali
Yes.
and Sonny Liston, like Sonny kind of thought like, this guy's crazy. Like, I'm the greatest, baby. Like, what the heck?
Probably the best psychological warfare martial artist boxer of all time. Like you can look at Conor McGregor in his prime before he went off the deep end and got too famous. Like he's up there too. But like Muhammad Ali a lot of times beat people before they ever stepped into the ring.
Oh yeah, big time.
And it was just it was power of confidence and belief, and he backed it up. It wasn't just talk. Like there's a lot of people that talk shit that can't back it up, but Muhammad Ali is one of the greatest talkers / boxers ever.
And backing it up just means being it.
Yep.
To me, just like I'm going to bring my best foot forward.
Yep.
I am going to bring my best foot forward, win, lose, or draw. People respect that. Like I've had people who had no talent, none. And some of those guys, like I don't care who you are. Like they have that attitude, like, I don't care. You're with me. And I'm gonna bring it.
Yep.
I'm like, holy crap, this guy's not fast, he's not strong, but he's not going away.
It's like Rocky. They're so durable, man. Like they just never give up. And there's this, you know, I was listening to it might be Hicks and Gracie. But basically he was talking about the mentality of, you know, he was 19 years old. And, you know, his dad heard about a fight with this guy that had, you know, 40 professional fights, 50 professional fights. So well seasoned, you know, at the top of his game, older guy in his maybe like 30s, in his prime, like probably like young 30s as a fighter. And Hickson, I think it was Hickson, I'll have to find out, but he was like, I want to fight the guy, Dad. Mm-hmm. And the guy, his dad, like, I don't know. And then the guy was like, all right, I need someone to fight this guy, or the fight's not going to happen. And so he ended up sending in his 19-year-old son to go fight this unbelievable badass. Mm-hmm. And these were like 10-minute rounds back in the day where like you couldn't, like there was no end of rounds. It would just go until the fight was over. It was like 10-minute rounds that would go in perpetuity. Mm-hmm. And so he went in there, and the guy came at him, and he threw a knee at him and caught him with the perfect knee. And the guy's tooth flew out of his head. And he thought that like he had him. The guy like shook it off and kept coming. Yeah. And talk about durability. Like that's impressive. And so he was like, all right, I'm in trouble now. And this goes back to our earlier conversation about self-limiting beliefs. Mm-hmm. And also this durability conversation. So the guy, he keeps fighting the guy. And after 10 minutes, the bell rings. It's round one's over, which is a long friggin' time for people to understand. 10 minutes of straight going at it as hard as you can is really hard. You have to be in great condition. And the guy goes back to his corner. Hickson goes back to his corner. He's telling his dad, I can't do this. I'm so tired. I want to quit. His dad's not even listening to him. His dad's like, whatever, let's get him ready for the next round. He gets him in the next round. And then basically his dad whispered in his ear, he's like, you're going to wear him out in the next couple of minutes and then just take us back and choke him out. Shit you not, within 3 minutes, the guy was gassed. Hickson jumped in there, choked him out, won the fight, set the whole trajectory for the Gracie family. Like, obviously it started before him back in the day when Japan taught them about jiu-jitsu, but also like kind of in Brazil, whatever. So long story short, he was telling, this was on Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory. I think it's a recent episode that I just caught a clip of this clip. And he goes, he was like, if it was up to me in that moment, I would have quit on myself. He's like, I had no belief, but I ended up switching my mindset in the actual fight, in the heat of battle, and I ended up beating this guy. And he's like, it changed my whole entire life and my generations of family life forever. He's like, because, you know, I made a contract with myself. I would never quit again. He's like, I would rather die. I would rather go in there and give it 100% and fail than ever come up short. And I think that's such a powerful mentality switch. And it happened in the heat of battle. It happened like in a like almost life and death situation in your mind. And it just shows the power of the mind. And then all this, what he's been able to do in a sport that's touched every country, and how many millions of people have played with jiu-jitsu. Like, it's because of this mindset shift in a matter of a second.
So powerful, so powerful. And I look at and remind people, it's in every area of our life. Everything that we do, our characteristics encapsulate us. And when we can really see who we are. You know, we're going to see
Yeah.
one way or another.
Yeah.
We're going to see who we are. And the question is, when?
Right.
When are you going to look at yourself?
Yeah.
You know, are you going to do it early and often? Or are you going to do it on your deathbed and be like, fuck, I didn't do anything?
It's important that you say often, because a lot of times we get complacent. A lot of times we have that eye of the tiger. We bust our ass. We get to a place of victory or spoils, and sometimes we get a little complacent. And that's what you see a lot of times with sometimes champions. They go through this battle, and again, Rocky was a great illustration for so many of these points, and like having the eye of the tiger, where he went, he was a poor guy, he had nothing. All he had was the dream and the will, and he ends up going against Apollo Creed, not to win the fight in the first movie. Sorry, spoiler alert for movies like 40 years old. But he didn't win that fight, but he won the hearts and minds, and he got that confidence, and he broke Apollo Creed. Like this, Goggins talks about this too. Goggins, like one of the most important things he did when he was going through his psyche change from fat guy eating donuts, spraying for cockroaches, sitting on the couch, watching buds training to go to the Navy SEALs, to losing 100 pounds in 90 days, to actually qualifying for Navy SEALs after a year and a half of trying. He's like, the one thing that kept me going through all that was watching Rocky #1. And this is where he talks about taking souls, and taking souls is a huge part of Goggins' ethos. And what he was talking about was Rocky was so durable and kept on coming, even getting his face crushed by Apollo, who was a far better athlete, far better boxer, far better at everything. But Rocky never gave up. And there was a scene where Apollo looked at Rocky like he finished him, knocked him down. It was over. He put up his hands. He was going to win the fight. And all of a sudden, Rocky and it's just staggering up and getting back up, and he can't be stopped. And Apollo looks back, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's not going to quit. Yeah. This guy's not going to stop. And that's where he took Apollo's soul, in the sense of like Apollo for the first time was a little bit afraid of this guy, and then it took him till the next movie to finally finish the job, and then it became best friends. So yeah. So anyway, so long story short, I'm just trying to illustrate the point that mindset shifts. You have to always continually, and this is something I'll even get into my story in a few minutes about how you helped me, but you always have to shift your mindset, and you always have to kind of have a checkup from the neck up. Like you have to look in the mirror every day and start over again. You're only as good as like your last at bat. You're only as good as your last fight. Like it doesn't matter what you did before that. You have to start again. Yeah. And it's beautiful, and that's what I want to remind people, like that starting over again. Because I realized, like, holy crap, people are trying to get to this finish line. Yeah. Like they're trying to, like, if I just sprint as fast as I can and then I get to the top and like, do we ever sprint when we're eating our favorite food? No. Do you ever like, let me just hurry this up? Oh my God. Like, no, we enjoy it. We embrace it. And what those trials do is it just stretches you into a newer version of you, a more transformed version of you. And you can't rush that process. Like, I'm not going to be like, hey, Jess, we're going to go fly up Mount Everest. Like, what about the elevation? Like, oh, no, we're good. We're going to fly. It's way faster. I committed in my mind doing Everest with you. I'm like, all right, I need to do some altitude training. I need to like start preparing myself, because I'm in pretty good condition now. I can't run up Mount Everest right now. I can run on the ground. I can run different places and little hills and trails and stuff, but that's way different than like 14 to 18,000 feet above sea level. Way different. Absolutely. We gotta go to Big Bear. We gotta train at altitude. Like we gotta start working out, man. Yes, big time. And it's about going through the process and respecting the process. When people don't get to where they're looking to go, it's because they don't respect the process. Yep. So they'll be doing the same thing over and over for 12 years instead of just doing it for 2 years and getting to where they're looking to go. And that's what it really comes down to. And I'm going to keep preaching it until the end. There's greatness in you, because there's greatness in every single one of us. Now, whether we will unleash it is another thing altogether. Just because it's there doesn't mean you're going to open it up. Yep. And let's slide into more of the performance for entrepreneurs, the performance for executives, day-to-day, life, where let's just kind of get into how you're affecting change with what you do in those areas. But also, I think it's important for people to understand that as entrepreneurs, both of us are entrepreneurs. it's not always easy. Matter of fact, it's rarely easy in terms of like sledding downhill. But we go through, what I've noticed, especially early on in my entrepreneurial career years ago, it was like a roller coaster ride. The highs were
Mm,
really high, the lows were really low, and it was a lot of this. It was up and down, it was up and down. And then it goes back to attitude,
mm,
and having a consistent attitude, a positive mental attitude, an attitude of gratefulness, an attitude of kindness, an attitude again of gratitude, and that will help you streamline and keep an even keel with the ups and downs. So you're
yeah.
not really, you're fluctuating, which really isn't good for your nervous system and all this other stuff, biomechanically. But let's talk about the entrepreneurial journey. Let's talk about the mindset behind how we're keeping an even flow and how we stay grounded. But then also, like during those dark times where you may have a client that quits on you, you may have a project that didn't work out, you may have a partnership that dissolves or whatever. Something may happen where it's going to be hard for you to pivot. What's the mentality behind all that? How do we stay on track for success?
Do you know Michael Ray by chance?
Do I know his work?
He's on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and he's just very happy individual. I got to listen to some of his story. He
Is he
unpacks
the
some
guy
of
with
it.
the smiles and the daughter that has Down syndrome? I
Yes,
know who he is.
yes,
Yeah, he's
yes.
always smiling. He's got.
Always
I think it's
smiling.
his daughter, but he's always with her.
Yeah, that's his daughter.
Oh, it's such a beautiful, beautiful. It's really unbelievable. Like he's gone all in on love, and like for someone who's been shown time and time again, especially through plant medicines, that love is the answer. Like he's completely embodying it, which is it's beyond gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we got to create a friendship together. Absolutely love the guy.
Hell yeah.
And I'll tell you, he said something, and I don't remember exactly what he said. I'm going to butcher it, but I remember the way it made me feel. And he goes, I don't smile because it's easy. I smile because it's hard.
Wow. So fucking powerful.
Life's going to give you every fucking thing it can throw at you.
Yeah, and more.
Yeah.
It's
And it's just
relentless.
like, and sometimes you'll be like, one thing I'll never ever say is, can it get any? I won't even finish the line. I'm not even going to finish the line.
We'll delete it from the episode.
Yeah, because it always finds a way to do it.
Yeah.
Every single time. And you're boom, boom. Life is beating the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And then all you get, how are you going to show up? Like, that's it.
Yep.
That's the only thing you get. How are you going to show up now? And I'm like, with the fucking smile on my face.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to show up.
Dude.
Because I'm going to remind whoever needs this that they can do it too.
Yep. And with a smile on their face. And I want to, I'm having all these insights. You're bringing up so much for me. Coming back from this journey through Mexico, it was the perfect journey, perfect trip. So many, all the ways, every way, even the parts that may be out of alignment or hard, like everything was perfect. By the end of the journey, I had this permagrin from my soul that was bleeding through my face, and everywhere I was going, I was just shit-eating grin, smiling, and wasn't even aware of it until I was there for 10 days. The last day I was in Cancun because I was making my way from Tulum to Chichen Itza back to Cancun so I could fly out of Cancun airport. I was at Cancun for one night, stayed over, and then the next morning I was on the beach because I love the ocean, love the beach. It's where my soul belongs, and I'm just soaking in the beach. And everywhere I was going around this little hotel that I was at, I was just seeing these smiles bounce at me. And I'm like, what? And then I realized it's because how much I was smiling. And at one point, some lady stopped in her tracks, tilted her head because she saw like the glow, and she gave me this beautiful smile. And I realized that part of my journey through Tulum and Chichen Itza and Cancun and this work that I did was to be an embodiment of love, to be like a bringer of light and happiness. And something as simple as a genuine smile. Then we go back to Michael Ray and your journey and my journey. Like a smile can literally change the world. And it sounds so woo-woo and so spiritual and so out there. But if everybody gave each other some sort of grace and some sort of happiness every day in these micro interactions, it would raise the friggin' love in the world. And so a smile is beyond powerful. People need to realize that. And it's easier than frowning. It takes like 17 muscles to smile, 42 to go the other way and frown. Fucking smile. And that actually changes your attitude. Like if you're not feeling good, these are some things I tell people. Move your body, through space and time, whether it's working out, whether it's dancing, and put a smile on your face, and you actually can change how you feel.
Yeah.
Incredible.
My brother, so one, you don't know how special you are because you said a genuine smile. A genuine smile.
Yeah.
How do you smile when life is hard?
Right.
And can you truly smile with intention when life is easy?
Yep.
And I go as far as talking about breathing. Oxygen's around us all the time. And so are we going to take the time to be intentional with it? Breathe it in, feel it. Feel that this is giving us life every second, feeding our soul, feeding our cells. Are we just going to, oh, it's everywhere. It's everywhere anyway, whatever. What's breathing? Breathing's stupid. Not necessarily. Breathing can save a marriage. Breathing can save a marriage.
Breathing can get you spiritual contact to the divine with like holotropic breathing and different breath work patterns that you can do. You can literally have a psychedelic experience with just your breath.
Just your breath. And so when you talk about a smile and a genuine smile, that takes putting in the reps.
Yep.
I don't care who you are.
No question.
Because it just doesn't make sense to a person who's like, okay, what's this smiling thing? You can change the world with a smile. You're 100% right about that.
When I was growing up in Boston, again, kind of rough and tumble, everybody was kind of like the tough guy growing up. No one smiled at each other. No one. And you know how I know this is now that I've been smiling since I've moved to Georgia after the military since like 2006 on. I've been smiling in public. It was weird for me to learn how to smile at another stranger because I grew up not smiling at people. Even though I was a happy kid and a playful kid, it would like almost cause an argument and or a fight if you smiled at someone. I swear to God, this is legit. Yeah. And so going back up to Boston year after year after I had left there and kind of learned how to smile and be, joyous, like I realized how out of place I was. And I would freak people out. They'd be like look at me like, why are you smiling at me, bro? Because I'm fucking happy. Like life is great. We're alive. Like I have a perspective. Like it's been beautiful. And I've just noticed a difference. And even a couple of years ago, I still noticed that I wasn't fully smiling all the time. Like I run a lot. And when I would run, I noticed sometimes I'd be in the zone. I'd be like, listening to some tough music. And like when I'd run past someone, I'd kind of be like just running. And like now when I run, I fucking smile at everyone. Like I'm out there happy. I'm joyous. I'm like a little kid. Like I have this ability to move my body through space and time in this way. And it's beautiful. And like, it's an ongoing evolution. So I feel like Michael Ray is like the Jesus of smiling. Like he's like the guy that's bringing love, light, and truth through all the ways.
Yes.
Just start with a smile. Smile at one stranger today. Smile at 2 strangers tomorrow. Smile at 5 strangers the next day. And then eventually it changes your life. No question. Something as easy as smiling and as goofy as it sounds, it's so friggin' powerful.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I even look at going through my journey. We become what we practice.
Yep.
That's it. And people are like, all right, I want to see behind the green screen. Like, all right, here it is. Like, that's too simple. Right. I need something more like go look in the mirror and ask yourself the question, do you love what you see?
Oh, so powerful. And even love yourself, right? Like there's a book that's, it's called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And, there's a point where you have to realize that as adults, we're both near the same age, right? Up until a couple of years ago, I never looked at myself and said, I love you. For me personally, I had a lot of shame that I was carrying around from a lot of the experiences that I have been through. Yeah. And even though I felt like I loved myself, I actually never said it to myself. And then I actually did some deeper work through plant medicines where the first thing I asked was to be and receive more love in the world. And the first thing I had to do was learn how to love myself. And it took me down this rabbit hole of facing trauma, healing trauma. And to love anything, you have to love yourself first because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
You cannot love someone else wholly until you love yourself wholly, WH wholly.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to to tell yourself you love yourself. And I say this from a mountaintop everywhere I go. It's like we have 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day. A lot of them subconscious. And most of the subconscious thoughts are negative just because that's how the patterns have been for most people. And this is how they've entrained their brain. You know, limited self-worth, shame, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that. You have to be very mindful and very conscious about how you retrain your brain and retrain your mind. And it starts with love. Like you have to really fall in love with the idea that you're a really good person and that people love you and you are worthy. And then once
Yeah.
you can get to that point, then start smiling a bit more. So there's like a process. Love yourself, smile. And you brought it up because of the mirror. I used to have this quote on the mirror, and it was a love letter to myself.
Mm.
And I needed that during certain times. And you know, just kind of going back to a dark time I went through a few months ago. I just had a lot of stuff that was going on, and I was dealing with some negative energy and all this different stuff. And I kind of lost my bearings a little bit. And this happens once in a while. I'm just human, right? And
Yeah.
so I got back to, we talked, and you can elaborate this on a little bit more of a scale. Like if you wanted to become a top UFC fighter again, you know the process to do it. And for me, it was like the building blocks that got me to where I was with health and wellness. It was running every day. It was eating cleaner. It was sleeping better. It was plugging into the healthy relationships. It was not drinking as much. It wasn't wasting my time in situations that didn't serve me or other people. And then once you keep stacking those positive things, you start to kind of build momentum. And then you and I talked one day when I was at a crossroads, and I was seeking advice, again, mentors, people, you know, that are your friends that can give you insights and be honest with you. You looked at me and you said, remember who you are. And in that moment in time, it was the most profound 4 words or whatever it is that I could have ever heard. Remember who you are. Yeah, 4 words. I was really quick with that. So remember who you are.
Yeah.
And for me, that was, holy shit, I'm 39 years old. I've overcome some of the craziest things in this world that can throw at you, and I'm still alive, so that's great.
Yeah.
I've also succeeded at a lot of things, so that's great. And I feel like I'm a pretty good person and like a good functioning human being, so that's great. And so like it was like, remember who you are. And
Yeah.
and I use that term. I'll use that term for the rest of my life. You with one sentence changed my life, and that's how powerful, because you know the secret sauce. Like you had to remember who you were in your life, and someone you taught how to. And for me, brother, it helped escalate the transition back to a really great place, right? And so I just want to say thank you, right?
Yeah.
And then you know, where did you learn remember who you are, and how did you remember who you were at certain times in your career?
Yeah, like that's a great question. Um, I had a friend screw me over really bad, and I didn't know I was going to get out of it. You know, a lot of money, a lot of creditors were calling me,
Shit.
and I'm sitting there like, how did this effing happen? And I didn't even know like this much money had left the account. So I'm talking with the creditors, and I'm trying to cut deals with all of these creditors. Humans are still humans. They have a job that they have to do, and I know some people don't like the creditors, but they're people. And even the friend who screwed me over, he's a person too. And he felt the need to do what he was going to do. But I bring this up because I thought I was fucked. Like I remember looking up and going like, how I get out of this one? Like I don't know. I just don't know. And for a day I freaked out. And then the next day I just got to work because that's all I know. Like I know, well, I just work and see what happens. And everything, all the pieces started coming together like they do. You know, you just go inch by inch.
Yes.
Like I keep it super simple for people, and I throw this up there because this can turn to limitless. But it just starts with this. It starts with this. And whenever I'm stressed out, whenever I'm freaked out, whenever life's not going my way, this has saved me every time. And so not only did I survive that process, I thrived in it.
Fuck yeah.
You know, I paid the creditors off. I got into a position where I'm like, holy crap, I can pull this off. Wow, that's awesome. And no hate in my heart because I don't need it.
No.
Doesn't serve me in any way. So it was one of those things where I almost see it as a gift to be like, this person let me know who I am.
Mm.
I can always show up and I can still be kind.
Brother, that's powerful beyond words. The words don't even do it justice. Like the mountains that can create. Remember who you are. If you're alive and you can move forward, again, like a Rocky analogy, like life's gonna throw punches at you, keep moving forward. It's so true. It sounds so easy and whimsical. It's like cliche, like yeah, just keep moving forward, but that creates momentum. And once you start taking those step by steps, and you're getting off track a little bit, and you get back online, and you keep taking steps, eventually the work, karma, fate, whatever it is, starts to play in your favor. And you start to see these little wins, these micro wins. You start to build a little bit of self-esteem. You start to get a little more confidence back. Again, you might get pushed back a little bit, then you keep going forward. And again, pushing forward, remembering who you are. Was that something that you learned in that moment, that's where that remember who you are came from? Or did you have a remember who you are like drilled into you from a coach, from another life instance? Or was this where you learned remember who you are?
Um, my mom was very stubborn.
Same.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah,
to a fault. Like she
yeah.
would, to prove her point, she would make, and this was a little, she would tell me I was wrong with something to prove her point, and that was like the thing I had. Yeah. So.
And I remember, so this happened to me in 4th grade. So hilarious. So we're reading from this book, and a lot of the words were Spanish words.
Okay.
A lot of the words were Spanish words. And we read in this book for like the entire effing day. Like it was like the whole day of reading this stupid ass book. And I'm sitting there like, what the? And I ended up learning the words, right? So we have class the next day. And I'm the only kid who can memorize I know how to say the words. The other kids couldn't say the words. And whenever people had trouble with the words, even the teacher was kind of having trouble with the words, she would call on me to say the words. And I remember feeling so good about it, feeling so good about and I remember I felt like crap 1 minute and then I felt amazing the next, right? And I brought that into we become what we practice.
Ooh.
Like every single, no matter what, we just become what we practice. So I could have been just like everybody else and not have read the book and screwed up the words and butchered the words and we would have had a good time. Or I could have said, oh, I want to do something different. Like that is what is so cool with David Goggins, with Jordan Peterson, with Michael Ray. Like I want to be different. I want to be the guy who's like, why would you step into a cage? Because others won't.
Because you can't. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the ultimate test of, look, David Goggins is going after people's souls.
Yeah, he is.
So I'm like, I better be ready for that, mother. Like and I do it in a fun, competitive way.
Yes.
Like, yeah, would I challenge him? Hell yeah, I would. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Just to see. Like,
that would be a life, like a bucket list thing for me to be able to run with him or challenge him. I know he'd crush me, but I'd still fucking give it my all. And I would get hungry and motivated. And if I saw a little inch, I'd try to take a mile with him. Like, of course I would fucking do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rocky and Apollo.
That's it.
All over again. Just like I'm about to do. I remember, so this happened in one of my fights. Jesse had nothing left. There was nothing left in my tank. And I'm sitting there and I'm fighting a guy who's a lot bigger and stronger than I am. And I'm like, and I got excited. Because I had nothing left to say, like, can I pull something out of nothing? Can I pull this out of my ass? Dude, I ended up winning the fight.
How did you give us some context? How much time was there left when you're like, I got nothing left? And then what did you do, like mechanically, punches, kicks, take him down? What did you do to kind of win to win the fight?
So it was against Jake Hune, right?
Yep.
And this guy's a natural 205er, and I'm a natural 185er.
Big difference.
Yeah. And they moved me up because his guy, he was supposed to fight Matt Hamill, but Hamill got sick.
Mm-hmm.
So they moved me up to fight him. And I'm like, I'll do it. Like, whatever. I guess signed a new contract. Here we go. And I go out there and he's running around the ring, right, to warm up. And Trevor's like, wow, this guy's really bad. I'm like, Trevor, I don't have time for your crap right now. Like, I'm getting ready to go to war. You over here. He's like, you can't get hit by this guy. Like,
Oh my
oh,
goodness.
shit. So he's like, be quick, move fast. And the first round goes on, and I'm doing really good the first round. But he was so big and strong that I'm sitting in my corner like, holy crap, I don't have anything left. And I don't want to say that because words do have power.
Yes.
Words have power.
Words are spells. They absolutely control.
So if you're saying like, I don't have anything left, like your body's just going to be like, okay, let's just shut it down.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, fuck, I can't move my arm. Like, I can't move my body. I'm tired. I'm like, here's an opportunity. Like, I see it as an opportunity.
Yes.
And we get out there for the second round and we're going, and I end up taking him down, and I get on his, like, I'm crossing the knee to belly.
Yes.
And I end up getting him in a head and arm triangle. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, this could be it. Like, I could finish him here.
Hell yeah.
And I just squeeze with everything that I got. And he ends up tapping.
Oh.
And I'm like,
hell yeah.
Yes.
Fuck yeah, dude.
But just like Henson Gracie went through his process, I'll say, like, it's a transformational process. You're never the same again after those moments.
No.
But you got to remember those moments, and you always got to practice those moments. Because if you don't practice those moments, that's what David Goggins talks about, doing something hard every day.
Yes.
You know, I do cold showers. I do like certain I do something that is stresses you.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is hormesis stress, like hormesis and good stress. It's yes. not like you're drinking to inflammation or you're drinking to passing out. You're doing good stresses that help you evolve and grow mentally and physically.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
And so going through that process, like, I didn't even know as a I loved the professional fighter, and I love being a professional fighter because it will never go. It's implanted in me. Yep. It's a part of my DNA.
Powerful.
You know, the professional fighter, being a professional in a primal state.
At the highest level in the world.
Yeah.
No other higher level. I know you only get a few minutes, but I want you to plug your program because I think it's going to be powerful for people. So can you tell a little bit about what you're doing right now? Yeah.
So it's internal mastery and also having the tools and the resources to be the best entrepreneur that you can be. Because as an entrepreneur, it's a process. Marketing tells you it's easy. Marketing tells you ditch your 9 to 5. Yeah. Do this, that, get your freedom. I'm here to tell you this. As a person, you are always free. You're always free to do what you want. You get a choice. Do you like what you're doing right now? If not, why? If you do, great. You can follow me on Facebook, Awaken the Greatness Within, because another thing that I'm noticing is people are trusting less and less.
Yeah.
And I get it, because everybody's telling you, everybody's telling you how easy it is.
Yep.
And I'll tell you this, as an entrepreneur, it has been a journey. It's a jungle, just like any other jungle.
Yep.
And there's going to be lions, alligators, snakes. But man, what an adventure. There's going to be a hell of an adventure at the end of that jungle. And if you're willing to play, you know, come play. Because mastery is about knowing what you're getting into. But it's also knowing this. It always starts with 1 inch.
Yep.
I'll never forget when I work with people, when I first start with them, they're like, that's it?
Yeah.
That's it? Like, that's it.
Uh-huh.
We gotta get your wheels in first before we go to that next stage. and we go through the process of mastery, because it's a process. But when you go through the process of mastery and you look back and you go, I never thought I could become this.
Yep. Yep,
That's
brother.
what my program's about.
I love everything that you're bringing to the table, man. And the average overnight success takes about 10 to 15 years, if not more. So people that think that
Yeah,
entrepreneurship's easy or anything's easy, everything takes time, right?
yeah,
But
absolutely.
I love who you are, brother. I have so much love for you as a human being. I'm very thankful you're in my life as a friend and as a thought leader and as someone who's making change in the world. And anything I could do to support you, I got your back. But thank you so much for this
Yeah,
conversation, brother. And I
I
can't wait for the
appreciate
next
you.
one.
Yeah, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you as always.
You got it, brother.